Out of all the other new cards we know about coming in Surging Sparks so far, the one that's seeing the second most success in Japan is Archaludon EX. While it's not performing quite as well as Ceruledge EX with its raw power, Archaludon has a great ability, 300 hit points on a stage 1, a good attack, and a good effect of its attack completely removing its weakness. In fact, the only weakness Archaludon has is that it tops out at 220 damage, which means it comes up short on EXs like Terapagos, Roaring Moon, Raging Bolt, and Ursaluna, but it can deal with Miraidon EX and unevolved Vs like Regidrago and Palkia. After Archaludoning my investigative cap and combing through Japanese lists, you know what I discovered? 2 forgotten cards that help this new archetype win games. I'm of course talking about Relicanth and Full Metal Lab. Full Metal Lab shouldn't be too much of a surprise. Yes, it can be easily bumped, and decks are playing more stadiums than ever before now that Area 0 is a thing, but if it sticks, Archaludon simply takes 30 less damage from attacks. That's important because it opens up some spicy plays with the next forgotten card, Relicanth. I really can't believe I didn't see this earlier, but thanks to the new Duraludon also coming in Surging Sparks, you can potentially take big one-hit KOs against high HP Pokemon like Dragapult EX and Charizard EX. That's because Relicanth allows all of your evolved Pokemon to use the attacks of its previous evolutions. The new Duraludon does 80 base damage plus 10 more for each damage counter on it. With this combo, provided Archaludon is damaged pretty heavily, you can now deal over 300 damage for 3 energy. And with Archaludon's ability accelerating 2 metal energy from the discard pile upon evolving, you don't need to rely on Matang. It's its own energy accelerator. Now, I did mention this in my Surging Sparks preview video. While it's great that Archaludon EX removes its fire weakness after attacking, you still have to be careful about Radiant Charizard. Not only can a Charizard EX player blow up a Dusclops and still KO an Archaludon with their Rad Zard, they can also just boss up a benched Archaludon and easily KO that one through weakness. So yes, removing the weakness is helpful, but it's not foolproof. And while the Relicanth strategy might seem great at first, Raging Bolt can still reach 350 damage quite easily, and Charizard EX players can put on their thinking caps and use Dusclops and Dusknoir to math their way to one-hit KOs against an Archaludon. Despite the potential HP woes, the most popular A-Spec so far in Japan has been Maximum Belt. It allows you to one-shot Raging Bolt EX and Roaring Moon EX, which are both big threats against Archie. Of course, Prime Catcher and Scoop Up Cyclone are also good options, as is Hero's Cape, which gives Archaludon 400 hit points, making it even crazier when you copy Duraludon's attack. Until I get my toes on Archaludon, I can't really give my opinion on which one truly feels the best, but I'm definitely trying Hero's Cape first. Here's an Archaludon EX list that took first place in a Japanese tournament. Again, keep in mind that we only know half of Surging Sparks at the moment, so there may be some additions in the coming weeks. The strategy doesn't take someone with an Eldegoss-sized brain to decipher. You get energy into the discard pile early, evolve into Archaludon turn 2, accelerate 2 energy to it, attach a third, and deal 220 damage. You discard energy with a combination of Radiant Greninja, Professor's Research, Ultra Ball, and Earthen Vessel, so it shouldn't be too difficult to do. And if you find yourself in a scenario where Archaludon is heavily damaged, but utilizing Duraludon's attack isn't a great idea, there's 2 copies of Professor Turo to put it back into your hand. Just remember that all the attached energy will be discarded, so keeping unevolved Duraludon in play will be a good idea. Alternatively, you can pair Archaludon with Dialga VSTAR. The core strategy is the same, except now you can use Archaludon to accelerate energy to Dialga VSTAR, which does 220 damage for 5 energy and gives you an extra turn. Plus, there's a ton of gusting, meaning you can easily pick off low HP 2-prize Pokemon, avoiding 2 shots on those bigger HP Pokemon as much as possible. Now, remember when I mentioned Zamazenta V in my Ceruledge EX video? Its ability still has some usage here as Archaludon wants energy in the discard pile, but it's more about the attack and the V-Star. Zamazenta V does 240 damage if they've taken 4 prizes, and 270 if they've taken 5. Still not the greatest, but better than Archaludon. Then we have the V-Star. If surviving is the strategy, Shield Star is huge. The turn after activating it, all of your Pokemon take 100 less damage from attacks. So now Archaludon effectively has 400 hit points, making it even tougher to KO. Use Hero's Cape or Rigid Band or Full Metal Lab or all 3, and you'll likely buy yourself an extra turn. It wouldn't be a Trust Your Pilot deck preview video if I didn't show off some crazy combo. And the wackiest one I found pairs Archaludon with Ceruledge EX because why not? Placing 3rd in a tournament, I'll admit that I have no idea how this is supposed to work, but just because you don't understand something doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. Finally, I saw a few other combinations in Japan that might work. Baby Revavroom draws cards while discarding energy. The Lightning EX Revavroom hits Palkia and Lugia for weakness. Scizor offers a great single prize attacker that can deal big damage, especially against Area 0 decks. And Rigid Band reduces the damage Archaludon takes by 30. If you're wondering about Matang, there are lists in Japan that have run it, but it's just a bit too much. Archaludon already accelerates Metal Energy, which makes the Matang somewhat redundant. If you want to build a Metal deck with Matang, something like Heatran is a much better option, at least in my humble expert opinion. I'm cautiously optimistic about Archaludon EX when we get Surging Sparks on November 7th in Pokemon TCG Live. Raging Bolt will be a big threat since it can take one-hit KOs, but decks like Dragapult EX and Charizard EX might struggle against the beefy boy. The Archaludon lists I've shown you are works in progress, as we won't know the back half of Surging Sparks for a few more weeks. That being said, we had a quick preview of a few more upcoming cards. While I doubt either of these will impact Archaludon too much, you could play Gravity Mountain to reduce the HP of Stage 2s by 30, making KOs easier, or Serrano to get 3 Archaludon EX directly from your deck, though Ultra Ball fits the strategy betterer.